Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to issue number 100. I wanted to have the confetti cannons and everything going. They just didn't get here in time, so maybe we'll celebrate 101.
Disney fans never celebrate 101.
But then when we do celebrate 101, well, don't worry, we'll celebrate it for 18 months, and then it'll be a whole big thing. Kyle's celebrating for us.
Yeah, that just means we've done the show for way too long.
It does. It doesn't feel like we've been doing it this long. Like, given the weeks we've missed, I'm surprised that we are at 100 already.
Considering we've read about 5 comics a week, that's a lot of comic books.
Yeah, we've talked about 500. Well, I guess we didn't always do 5 comics, did we? When we started, did we do?
No, because there weren't 5 comics. Remember, it was 3 a week for a while there.
Right. Yeah. So we've done, but 400 to 500 comics, I say, we've talked about on this show, which is just crazy to think about. It's a lot of comics, but yeah, we're gonna talk about 5 more right now, and we're gonna start off with Avengers Forever number 10. We kind of talked about with last week's stuff with the Judgment Day. I was trying to think of the title of the event that's been going on, but we've kind of been talking about how the Avengers stuff hasn't really pieced together. This is sort of the other event that's been going on that didn't really fit into all of that. But what did you think of this 10th issue here?
I mean, it's weird. It's sort of a derivative of Devil in a Bottle, but through a multiverse lens. So that was a neat thing. I mean, it doesn't really progress the story too much. In this multiverse, we have a Tony Stark who is more like Ant-Man than Iron Man. And they're trying to find a sort of a Tony Stark to kind of complete the team because Ghost Rider feels that that's what's needed based off of Ghost Rider powers. So they go around the multiverse and they realize that most of Tony Starks are kind of messed up. And then, our Tony here, who has his own drinking problem, finally realized through a different Tony Stark realizes what he needs to do. So I thought it was cool. There was I don't know how about you, but I felt there was a lot of strong comics this week. So it didn't make my top pick, but I could see kind of going back and just thinking, okay, this is interesting. I mean, it's multiverse, so it's not the character, the versions we know really, and didn't really move the whole Avengers Forever storyline forward. But and this is one time where I think the cover is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't sure what to think of the cover at first, and then after reading the story, it makes a lot more sense. So I do like that aspect of it. I actually think I am going to disagree a little bit. I think this week's lineup is a little bit weaker than some of the other weeks we've had, and we'll discuss that, in bigger picture as we talk about some of these other comics here. But I did enjoy this one though. Like you said, it wasn't one that really progresses this story, but it's more of a look inside the head of Tony Stark, and that's always a fun yet scary place to be. So there was a lot of cool Tony stuff, a lot of cool multiverse stuff, some funny moments, some really emotional moments, some pretty heavy stuff in here. So yeah, it was good. It just wasn't it's not what you expect as we're getting close to this, what is supposed to be the biggest Avengers multiversal battle of all time. It's not the kind of issue you expect leading up to that, which is good in some aspects and not good in some others. So, like I said, I enjoyed it. I think maybe the timing was just a little weird for me.
Well, and I think too, it might have been to give it a little bit of space to get away from Judgment Day before they really got into it. So nice, it's not the first time they kind of insert an issue just to have fun.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. That does make sense too.
It could have been an annual, could have just been a.
It did feel like that, similar to the Moon Knight annual we talked about last week. This was very much, yes, it has the Avengers Forever title, it has these other characters in it, but this is a Tony Stark story. This is about this character and dealing with his own stuff, and so yeah, it could have been an annual. All right, let's move on to our second title here, and this is an interesting one. This is the Cosmic Rewind tie-in comic, the Guardians of the Galaxy one-shot sort of thing here. I enjoyed it to an extent. I would have liked. I feel like they didn't lean into the fun of it enough. Like it felt like it was trying to be a comic book still, while also just connecting to that story. I wish they would have just been like, have Peter Quill talk about Epcot, for a little bit, like lean into it a little bit more.
Yeah, I was disappointed in this one because it really only kind of like, it's like what they happened to be doing before the events of the ride, but not really connected, and really until the very end. And it's more just sort of a silly Guardian story, and which is fine, but it's not. It just kind of doesn't deliver on the tie-in. It's really more of like a, it's almost like it could have been a commercial for Walt Disney World, the last page, and then the rest was just a comic book.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Like it didn't fully commit to being what I expected this to be a commercial for Walt Disney World, and that was what I was looking for. Or if you're not going to do that, then just give us an original Guardian story that actually has some impact. And we kind of got neither. We kind of got in between the two.
Okay, can we break into this? Isn't Marvel related, but this is breaking news that I just got on my phone. Let me see if I can just kind of take.
Yeah, go for it. There we go.
Police search for baby velociraptor stolen from a Florida museum.
Wow.
The lead here is that someone stole a velociraptor. So only in Orlando.
Is real dinosaur? Yeah, wow, that's hard to bounce back from. Like there's 100 different jokes running through my head right now. I'm just gonna wait for Kyle to make them all in the comments section instead. But as we move on to our third comic title for the week, X-Men Red. I am very curious to get your thoughts on this one. This is issue number 8, by the way, in the series, which feels like, I feel like it should be farther into this series. I feel like we've been talking about X-Men Red for quite a while, but I don't know, time it means nothing anymore. So what did you think of this issue?
There were parts I liked, but I feel like every time I open up X-Men Red, it's a whole other comic book. Like there's threads. Like Storm wasn't in this issue at all. And I guess I just, I know we bounce in and out of titles as part of what we do, but this is getting back to complicated X-Men.
Yeah.
And I'm just not ready for it, especially since it's not telling a story that's interconnected. It's one thing when you have you're reading 12 X-Men titles and they're complicated, but they're all kind of building on each other. So it's kind of doing its own thing while other things are happening, in other titles. And it's just a little too much mythos for one comic book to, I think, hold.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we've been talking about Judgment Day and how we liked a lot of the X titles within the confines of Judgment Day. And this got right back to that pre-Judgment Day form. And I know that for sure because the first note I have on this comic is, what? It was loaded with exposition that I'm not sure was told in a previous issue. Like you said, we bounce in and out of titles, on a weekly basis. So I may have just missed some of it previously, but I mean, Cable spends about 2 pages of just like word bubbles, like loading us with all of this story that I would have liked to know about, like see play out a little bit more, as opposed to him just telling us about it. So there's just a lot going into this story. There is stuff I like about it. I agree. I think there's some elements that make for a fun story. It just needs to be simplified. It's the same problem that these X titles have had. And you're not even dealing with Krakoa, you're dealing with Arakko. So It's not even the familiar characters. Yes, there's Cable, and there's a couple others here and there, but it's these other characters that's stemmed out of Ten of Swords and that whole craziness. And so it's not even really, it's not even like the familiar faces or anything like that. So it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Let's move on to our 4th issue. And I'll go ahead and jump in and say this is my pick of the week.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, since this is not, sometimes these tie-in books, like where they know there's a movie coming out, so they make a comic, are not great. But I loved this issue so much. I cannot wait for it. I got sad that it was over, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, so
although I don't remember Iron Man being in it.
No, if he was, he might have been like in a panel, like in the background. Like that's about it. But I wasn't even aware. Is this a one shot? Are they doing a series on this?
No, it's a series. I know that because there was like, next issue thing at the end. But
Okay. That's right. Yes, I do remember seeing the cover on there now that I think about it. But yeah, I this kind of took me by surprise. And as soon as I saw our lineup of comics, I was like, oh, well, that's going to be my pick of the week. And it 100% delivered on that. It's essentially telling this, like, it is a sequel of sorts. Like it's after the secret invasion that we know, that still happened. That's still like in like the timeline, but it's essentially telling the same story, and I don't care. It's a great story to tell, and there's a lot of different angles you can cover it from. So I am all for jumping into Secret Invasion again.
Don't disagree, and I'm excited to see where it's not a wide ranging event like last time
Right.
where it's across everything. So which was kind of cool last time because you never know who to trust, but
Yeah.
it did that same sort of excitement just in one comic book, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think it is it's cool that it's not this time, right? Like it's because it's not this big sprawling event. I kind of don't know what to expect. Like there's going to be stakes, but it's also not going to spin out of control like the last one did, and you're not going to involve all of the Avengers and the X-Men and everybody. So I'm really curious as to how this is going to play out. Stay a little bit more grounded than what the original Secret Invasion was. So that should be interesting. All right, let's move on to our fifth title here. And this is Black Panther number 11, the ongoing series right now. And I enjoyed aspects of this. Again, this is a victim of us, not being tuned into this ongoing series on a weekly basis or bi-weekly or monthly, however often these issues are coming out. So there's some context. I mean, they do fill you in the beginning with that sort of preamble page that like lets you know what's going on. So that helped a lot, obviously. But I think being fully invested in the story coming into this issue would have helped a lot because it plays on the series as it should. But it's not something you can really just jump into and go based off of your own Black Panther knowledge prior to this series.
But I did really like it, and I like because it wasn't ironically black and white. Like there was complications, some neat. My favorite stuff was the stuff between T'Challa and the Avengers as they're trying to figure out, how do you even approach a situation. It's not Zemo. I know it kind of looks like it, but I don't want to reveal who it is. That's part of the story, but it's not Baron Zemo.
Right.
No, I really like this issue. This was my pick of the week until I read Secret Invasion. It's also where I started, so that doesn't mean anything. But I really like this one. You're right. I'm not fully in the loop, but I think the acting and the art kind of gave me the sense of where the gravitas should come from. So I thought that was really cool too. I really liked it a lot. There were some parts I didn't necessarily like. Some parts I thought were a little too broad, but yeah. As a whole, for a Black Panther book, which sometimes can get a little too in the politics of Wakanda, that kind of gets a little like, sort of like episode 1 a little bit. But I thought this was really good.
Yeah, and for the record, I think this, would be along the same lines. Like it is probably my number 2 for the week. So I did enjoy it. I think I was really liking the stuff between T'Challa and Captain America in the beginning, and then it kind of got a little too far. Like okay, Cap's behaving a little unlike Cap right now, right. But for the most part, I enjoyed that. I really like the villains in play here, the quote unquote villains. I guess I won't go into it any further than that, but I like the way that they set things up, and it makes for a really interesting story going forward. So I do want to read more of this, so it accomplishes that. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of context going into this that would help a lot for sure. All right, so that is our final comic for the week. We don't actually have a movie or a TV show or anything. You haven't seen Wakanda Forever yet, have you?
No.
Okay. So we are going to jump into our Marvel news.
I will say though, there is something coming this week, Director by
There
Night.
is.
We have a screener
Yes.
for it that Mac will probably watch whenever. I don't know
Yes.
your
So
schedule, but at some point.
yeah, you can keep an eye out for a review of that on Laughing Place. As for the Marvel news for the past week, this one surprised me. We're getting a Vision series based on this version of Vision that we saw in WandaVision. I feel like I'm just saying the same words over and over. What were your thoughts on this when you saw
I'm
this?
not surprised at all. I presume this was going to happen
Okay.
because I presume that you get the question of like, the Vision is this sort of weird amalgam in the MCU, amalgam of Infinity Stone, Jarvis, and Ultron, right? That kind of created this character that was able to have humanity. So what happens if you copy him essentially, or reactivate him, or whatever, without all of that? What's the question? Is he destined to be human in a manner of speaking, or is he always going to be, the Vision we saw at the end of WandaVision? And so I think, because otherwise, if you don't address this, then you just have this white Vision running around the MCU. It just seems like it was left hanging. Unless you see a body, like I'd like to point out, you didn't see Wanda's body either. You're not dead, right? Like, in the MCU, okay, Tony Stark is dead. Like, there's no question, and he's not going to come back, at least not in that way.
616 Tony Stark is dead.
Right. Yeah. And in a way, Loki was dead too. I mean, it's like,
right.
Not that they can't come back, but it's not like, oh, I was, they're not going to come back as like, oh no, I just sprained my arm, right? Like, they're gone. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, Paul Bettany's just sort of endearing. So I'm looking forward to this one. And then you have the Agatha show that kind of spins out of WandaVision. So
yeah, as
it really does.
All in the Game jumps in here and says the third WandaVision spinoff, if Wonder Man has any connection to.
Yeah, I wonder if it does.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second here too. But I want to rephrase, I guess. I'm not surprised that we were getting more of Vision. I totally expected to get more of the story. I wasn't necessarily sure that we would get his own series. What I'm surprised about is the way I got this news, which was first seeing on Facebook from a less than reputable source that Marvel was creating a show called Vision Quest. And I was like, immediately, that is a joke. That's definitely not really happening. And then sure enough, I saw it reported like an hour later that Vision Quest was being worked on. So that's what surprised me more than anything is the name and the way that I got this news.
Do we know who the creative team is?
I think we know Jack Schaefer is involved, the director from WandaVision. So
I mean, it connects it. Vision Quest is a very WandaVision name.
Yes.
So, I was kind of, it's kind of in a way, it almost feels like a WandaVision season 2,
Right.
About Wanda. So like it's the equivalent of MCU's Archie Bunker's place.
We did pitch some other names for this on Zacks of Life, by the way, maybe Vision or Double Vision. I think that could have either one of those. Yeah, Vision Quest is a little strange. Jack Schaefer, by the way, I think writer and producer, not director. I think I got that wrong. But yeah, she'll be involved with Vision Quest. Another series we just sort of alluded to here. We got some news that, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Yahya Abdul-Mateen II will be playing Wonder Man in our Wonder Man series. This is typically where I jump in and say, oh, I'm not familiar with this actor's work, really. I am, unfortunately, a little bit familiar with his work because I know he played Black Manta in the Aquaman film, and I unfortunately saw that movie. So not that I blame anything on him. He had a fairly small role and was pretty decent in it. So I am expecting some great stuff from this actor and from this series. What are your thoughts on Wonder Man?
Well, I like the character. I'm not familiar much with his work. I didn't watch Watchmen, but it's not like I've ever been like, oh no, like I wasn't familiar with Ms. Marvel, but like, hey, that worked out. So whatever.
Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing where this series goes. Okay, so All in the Game says his Watchmen performance was great. I didn't watch Watchmen either. I have wanted to for a long time, just haven't gotten around to it. And then Kyle goes ahead and quotes me. So yeah, I'm really interested in seeing what version of this character we get, because there's a lot of different ways they can go with Wonder Man. So
well, I think you want to have that anti-hero turned hero story, which really haven't had that explored in an extensive way, because otherwise he's just another sort of powerful hero. I don't
sure.
really, that's what makes him interesting, and otherwise he's just not that interesting. So
Right. Yeah, I wanted to see like the movie star version of Simon Williams, who's like, way too cocky for his own good, and
yeah.
so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we go down that road. Maybe we go down a road where he's completely just purple energy at all times. I have no idea. There's a lot of different possibilities for Wonder Man. We got some more casting news in yet another WandaVision spinoff. Again, we don't know that Wonder Man is, but Joe Locke has been cast in Agatha, Coven of Chaos. I know he is very popular right now because of the Netflix series Heartstopper. I think I got that right. Have not watched that myself, so can't really speak to it. But got a rumor for you on this one. The thought is out there that he is probably playing Wiccan. So
yeah, that would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Given where we see this story going.
Sure.
It's interesting. We do have a Billy already, but it wouldn't be the first time they recast Cassie. So or they could take a different interpretation of it. So
Sure.
I think Wiccan's such an interesting character in so many ways that I don't know a lot about Agatha, Coven of Chaos in terms of like what it is, so it's hard to say how
anybody does right now.
So, but yeah, I could definitely see.
Yeah,
that Wiccan, and based off of his performance in Heartstopper, I could see where people would make that jump.
And it would make for an interesting story if Agatha is, waking up from where we left off, with her back under Wanda's mind control, with Wanda being quote unquote dead now, maybe that she is broken out of that spell and finds this, Billy Maximoff in the real world and has to figure out now, why does he actually exist? He shouldn't exist in the real world. He was only a product of the Hex. So that would make for a really interesting story, I think. So that would be a cool way for them to go.
On the Game asks, is there a grown-up Billy cast already? No, but Billy grows up with the comic. He wasn't always a grown-up, so I guess it depends on their patience or his young Billy's sort of evolution into the role. But anyway, yeah, I'm really, and Catherine Hahn, you just want to see, like, I just
want absolutely,
more Agatha in my eyeballs.
Yeah. And I'm excited for this to potentially throw together another piece of the Young Avengers, of course. So
yeah. Speaking of Cassie.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next one, please just remember that we are just reporting the news. We are not creating it. So Kelly Marcel has been tapped to write Venom 3. I guess it's happening. I guess it's something we're going to have to live with. They're going to keep going.
We can live with it. We don't need to see it.
Sure. But don't I need to see it?
Well, I should say I don't need to see it. You get paid. You should just remind yourself that there's worse things you could do for money.
Yes, very true. Very true. But
yeah, it really looks like in this movie. That's hideous.
To be fair, he should be hideous.
No, but like it just doesn't look like. I don't know. He looks a little too like wet.
Yes, that was one of the complaints. Yeah, there's that is a weird look for him, but yeah, the eyes are a little too small too, I think. But there's bigger complaints than that look. So, yeah, so not even anything to break down out of this one. Just the fact that this movie is apparently happening is enough to ruin our day, and we can move on. Welcome to the Wakanda Forever portion of the show. We had a screening of Wakanda Forever at the Smithsonian, which must have just been really, really awesome. I can only imagine, like the energy around this film is already so amazing that just, screening it at the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, I just imagine the chills you get watching that there.
Yeah, I mean, it brings you back to how amazing the first one was. That makes you excited to see the second one. So, just the excitement reminds you of the excitement when it came out, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited for everyone to see it so that I can stop biting my tongue. Actively Black, the apparel brand, has announced a collaboration with Marvel to create a whole line of Wakanda Forever apparel. There's t-shirts, there's hoodies, there's tights, there's sweatpants. What?
Sorry, Spaceballs reference.
Oh. I was like, that doesn't fit an apparel brand, but okay. It's all fairly basic, like it has this same sort of logo, the Wakanda Forever logo and the Actively Black logo. But I mean, just, it's a very sleek, clean look. So I like it. And this will all be available, by the way, starting tomorrow on activelyblack.com. In McDonald's, we've got we've got our Wakanda Forever Happy Meal toys now available. Which one of these? Which one are you like hoping to pick up?
I don't know. Like, I just love getting them. I just want one that's not the one I have.
Okay, that's fair.
Like,
have you already gotten any of them?
No, I haven't been to McDonald's yet. Okay. I want to know if the McDonald's, the Happy Meal box actually looks like that, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I saw, that they were advertising that too. So I honestly almost just want to go and get one of the boxes, but then it's one of those things I'm like, what am I doing with this now somewhat greasy box afterwards? Yeah, I will say I want this Namor toy here. Pretty awesome.
Cool. I kind of didn't pay that much attention because I don't want to be spoiled. I don't know if there's spoilers in here, but
I don't, unless you haven't paid attention to like casting at all or anything. Like, we kind of have an idea of the characters that are going to be involved. So, if you've seen the trailer, I don't think this is spoiling anything.
I like Atuma.
Yeah, Atuma was a really cool one too. And I haven't seen them in action or anything. I assume they all have the little button on the back where they move one thing. So
only game wants to know over under on it topping the first movie's $202 million domestic opening. It's a tough one. I kind of feel like we're still not 100% there yet. So I would say under, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's hard because, we haven't had an epic movie like that really kind of knocked off the box office for a while.
Mm-hmm. At the risk of outing myself as an avid gambler, I would smash the under on that one.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not going to be a huge success. I just think, like everything you laid out, I think is true. It's not really, we haven't had a huge box office success like that. Sorry, I'm trying to, we also learned about the Wakanda Forever podcast, which is I believe it was 6-part podcast on the making of the film. There is a preview out for this right now on all major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, things like that. And this will come from Ta-Nehisi Coates, Ryan Coogler involved, of course. So you're going to learn all about the making of the movie. I don't think they gave a date for when the podcast actually drops.
They did.
Did they? Okay. I just assumed it was with the film on November 11th.
Keep talking.
Okay. And this comes from Proximity Media, which this is their new audio division that is launching this podcast. And that Proximity Media is founded by Ryan Coogler.
First episode drops tomorrow, November 3rd.
Okay.
And then subsequent episodes will be available weekly in January.
Interesting that they are willing to release 2 episodes on the making of the movie before the movie hits theaters.
Well, it's probably talking about more about because it's actually well. It seems like it's going to be talking about Black Panther as the phenomenon, not necessarily about the movie it Wakanda
That's
Forever
fair,
as
yeah.
itself.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
And Chadwick Boseman.
Yes, there is. It does mention specifically a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, which I would say also by the way, like that's what the movie is too. It's a beautiful tribute to Chadwick Boseman. So, yeah, it makes sense that they would be doing that here as well. Okay, a little bit of comic news as we wrap things up here today. We learned that Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, is going to be coming in on February 1st specifically. So nice that we have a date for this one already too. The Daughter of Blade we met in a Free Comic Book Day title, I believe, right? That's when we first met her. And then just recently for the Halloween comic we talked about that I'm now blanking on the title of just a couple weeks ago, though, we met her again for a short story in there as well.
And that was one of my favorites. So I was excited because Blade, kind of has a reputation, but it seemed like, giving her a little bit more innocence was kind of a neat way to kind of make it different from her father.
Yeah, and she is an interesting character. Brielle, by the way, Brielle Brooks is her name, because you got to throw the alliteration in there. So she has an interesting dynamic here. Like you said, like a little bit more innocent from what her father is, one of the most ruthless killers in the Marvel universe. So that's a low bar to clear, but still should be an interesting dynamic for this character. And I'm looking forward to this story. Should be fun. We also got the cover for Dark Web Finale #1, which will also be coming in February. Kind of funny. I wasn't sure if they meant that the title of this is actually Dark Web Finale. Seems odd, especially to have it #1. Like if it's the finale, isn't that?
Well, they do that with like those Omega issues, right? Like Dark Web, or
Yeah, but at least they mask it as Omega, right? Like not just call it finale. Like Dark Web, the last one. Like that's what it feels like. But pretty awesome art here on this cover. And then we also learned that Amazing Spider-Man numbers 19 and 20 will be a 2-part guest arc by Joe Kelly and Terry Dodson. So that's pretty interesting. Those will be coming in February as well. And those will be kind of spinning out of Dark Web. So looking forward to that. February will be a big month for Spider-Man. And then we learned just today, we got these they're calling them decades connecting covers of for Avengers Forever and Avengers, that whole, like we talked about Avengers Forever today, end of November 30th, we were going to see this huge multiversal battle with the Avengers and everything that's been going on across the Avengers books. So I am looking forward to that finally coming to fruition. And we are getting these connecting covers that are sort of paying tribute to the timeline of the Avengers and their looks over the years. And these are coming from artist Phil Jimenez. And you can get a look at this one here that is specifically giving some tribute to the 70s, it says. So
yep.
Which it's funny because like a lot of these looks seem more modern to me than the 70s. But I guess that's just because they're so classic that they've stuck around for the most part.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, you can see kind of an Iron Man. He's got his.
Yeah, Iron Man, you can see it the most, but like Cap looks like that's what he looked like in some of the issues we read today.
Yeah, I don't know that he changes that much.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't.
I mean, Beast is definitely 70 or 70s.
Yeah, that's true.
Silver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really.
That
really
is.
Cool
what's that?
It's just really, really cool art.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Phil Jimenez, you don't get much better.
Yeah. And then one other piece of news we got today, we got some of the first titles for Free Comic Book Day 2023, which will be May 6th. I don't remember getting these titles this far in advance before. I could be wrong, but it feels kind of funny to be talking about Free Comic Book Day in November. We are getting Avengers slash X-Men #1, Spider-Man slash Venom, which that's become a staple. We get Spider-Man Venom every year now. Marvel's Voices and Spidey and Friends, which we had last year.
Spidey is Amazing Friends from the Disney Junior show.
Right. Yeah, so it's a good lineup, and you can see the cover here for the Avengers X-Men title. I like
which is supposed to lead into the Fall of X event.
So. Yeah, that's one cool thing about these free comic book titles is they do have some. I mean, it's not like you don't need them, but they do provide some context going into some of these events. The last one this past year was for Judgment Day, so it was pretty cool. Check it out. All right, and I think that does it for us today. With this being issue number 100, I thought we should go in full-on comic book style and probably talk for about 3 hours. But
well, I should say next time will be Marvel Time issue 1. We're gonna do a relaunch, renumbering,
number 1,
Legacy 101.
Yeah, I like it. Sounds good. Anything else? What's going on around LP right now?
Also, we're getting ready for the return of Phantasmic. So we'll have coverage, obviously across all of Laughing Place. But if you want to see the latest and as it happens, go watch Laughing Place TV. You can visit it at laughingplace.com/TV. That's spelled TV. You can see what our Jeremiah and Luke are there for us today. So we will get coverage. Supposedly there'll be some sort of interview opportunities and things like that. And then we will get the updated show. This isn't just like, a lot of the other returns where it's like, okay, it's back. It's there again. This is actually updated and with some new elements. So you can see the B-roll already on Laughing Place, but we'll have the full show later tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to see that again. Just having a nighttime show back in the park makes it feel more complete. So, and excited to see the new elements of it too. We have new Zacks of Life out this past Monday, where Kyle and I broke down Werewolf by Night, which now that we're past Halloween, and you've probably seen it by now, but we did have a fun draft on there too. We drafted the best Marvel costumes, so that was a good one. Becca joined us for that.
Let me see who wins.
I don't think the poll isn't up yet. We'll have that up later today. But
okay, never mind then. I can't say who wins because I don't know the options.
I mean, you can just go ahead and say I win. That's fine.
Sure.
Also on the Laughing Place YouTube channel, we do have my newest addition to my collection, unboxing the HasLab Galactus. And I know this is a little bit confusing because this is Dr. Doom, but this is one of the alternate heads, or the alternate head for the HasLab Galactus, which is, you know what? Hang on. It's right here. Hang on. Oh, there you go.
Wow.
This thing is huge. So yeah, we have an unboxing video of Galactus on our YouTube channel that you can check out right now and see all the accessories and all of the other figures that came with them. Yeah, pretty awesome.
Does he make you hungry?
I mean, it's actually, it frightens me a little bit. The face is pretty real, and it's like a child. It's like there's a child standing in the corner of my room at all times. So, and right on cue, Kyle drops this in there. So yeah, there you go.
So, a question for you. We did have a Hasbro HasLab that didn't get funded.
Right.
Which was the Ghost Rider vehicle thing. Mm-hmm. Which probably the fact that I can't remember the name might have played a role.
The Engine of Vengeance. Yeah.
Because I was looking at some of the other HasLabs. There's a new Transformers Deathsaurus, which has 40 days to go and already has 6,000 of the 11,000 backers needed. There's a Heroescape from Avalon Hill. It looks like it's not going to get funded, but there's been three of recent memory, 3 HasLabs that haven't been funded. The Rancor from Star Wars, Reva lightsaber also from Star Wars, and this Engine of Vengeance. So, used to be these things would kind of blow through it, but I
Right.
guess
Yeah.
it's not as much of a lock as it used to be.
Yeah. If my memory serves correct right now, the Ghost Rider was the first Marvel one to fail. Previously, we've had the Sentinel and then Galactus, and then the Ghost Rider is the first one to not reach its goal. So, kind of unfortunate that the Ghost Rider Engine of Vengeance was pretty cool, but I get it at the same time. Like it's a car as opposed to being this massive figure, so it didn't quite have the same selling points of these other ones. So
Yeah, it just felt like it wasn't relevant at the moment. I mean,
yeah,
he's in the comic right now, but not in a big way. Maybe he will be. You know, maybe they should have waited a little bit longer. It's not like it's Galactus or Sentinel or
right, which are kind of just always relevant, right? Like there are these big names that are constantly out there. So I'm curious to see what they do next. I mean, they've done some amazing stuff already, so excited to see what comes out of HasLab next for Marvel. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Am I forgetting anything? I think we're all good. Okay.
So look forward to hearing your thoughts on Director by Night.
Yes. Yeah, looking forward to that. And then we will have a full written review up on Laughing Place of the Black Panther issue that we discussed earlier. So keep an eye out for that. All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.